Now, President Zelenskyy, I understand all your situation as the leader in a war-torn country and continuous war. And you must have been losing weight and losing peace in your mental capacity and many other things just kind of tearing you apart. Millions of your countrymen had to run away from home, and you're losing more and more soldiers, maybe less than Russia. But still you're losing, and that does hurt you a lot. And that makes it so sometimes you cannot find peace, cannot find your usual intelligence because of pain. All those war-related pain for you as head of state, they also affect your physical and or mental wellness, your peace of mind. But please, you have to work with President Trump. You have to trust him, because I trust him, if that means anything to you. Because the majority of his citizens trust him. And that is a rare miracle, you know? Not all of the presidents in the world are trusted by their own citizens, and by the majority even. It would be 50-50 if any of them are lucky. So please, work with President Trump, even if you feel you are humiliated. What's the problem with our pride anyway? We lose nothing if we lose our pride also for the good of others, for the good of your country. Even that, pride is nothing. We came with no pride. We die with no pride. It's just an illusion, one of the illusions in this world. Please, you have to be humble. It's difficult. It's difficult for a president in war even to be humble. But you have to, President, you have to, for the sake of your country. Even for the sake of all the dying Russians in your land. Compassion has to rule more than pride. Then you have to have peace, come back to your family, live a normal father and children life, husband and wife life. You can't continue like this forever. And you know President Trump, he has just been elected again, and he has 10,001 things to do also. So he might have lost his patience as well. Patience is not easy to keep in this world, because with so many things that push us to no end, we sometimes can't keep ourselves together in one piece. Even for a man or a woman having a family, have a family problem, they also lose their patience more often than they like. But because they love each other, they come back together and make ends meet, piece things together and have peace and have a family in peace again. Just not to talk about you as a president of a warring country. Daily knowing how much bad news, daily knowing how many people die on both sides. I know even Russians are supposed to be your enemy, but you feel also not good when they die or wounded and crippled in any way, because they're also human. They look like your citizens as well. I don't know how President Putin feels about his young citizens dying every day on the battlefield, in a foreign land even. But I know you have heart. I know you feel sorry. You feel sympathy for them as well when their family loses a son, or when the family has to bring back and nurse a wounded son, a wounded daughter, or a handicapped war veteran coming back to their family. Because you know, if it's you, you would feel devastated. You would feel like dying. So please, sell your pride to the wind. Humble yourself. Go make a deal with President Trump. President Trump, he also has his own responsibility and issues to take care of. America cannot continue to supply weapons, money forever to any country, even if they love it. Even if they love and support their country, they cannot do it forever. The Americans' tax money has to be spent on the Americans' welfare. And you know President Trump is all for his own citizens. So if he makes any deal, it has to be fair for both, you know? Even the richest person in the world cannot continue to help the poor people all the time and always. Their money will run out, their business will be ruined. So President Trump, he's a fair person. He does what's good for Americans, but he also considers other countries. If he has to use strong measures, it's because he knows that will wake up other leaders to work with him for the sake of all in this world. He's not a mean man. He just uses any possible way when he thinks it works. And then he will slow down. And then he will go back to the normal things that you expected. It's like sometimes he put a big tariff on many countries so that they have to do things fairly, logically. And then he will reduce the tariff. He did in some way already, with some countries already.
The president sees tariffs as an effective negotiating tool. He claims other countries have been unfair to the U.S. and that his approach will fix America's trade deficit.
Trump had pledged the measure to boost local manufacturing in the U.S. and to pressure its neighbors to do more to stop the flow of migrants and illicit drugs into the country.
They've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. And they've killed 300,000 people last year, my opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl. The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive.
President Donald Trump is temporarily pausing tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from Mexico and Canada, giving the countries more time to negotiate key issues around border security and even trade.
The president has been engaged in a lot of talks with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. The president yesterday talking about his conversation with Sheinbaum, saying that he had a good, productive conversation with the Mexican president and says he does see tangible evidence regarding Mexico's actions to stop the illegal flow of fentanyl. He says he has seen some evidence that the flow of fentanyl has been declining.
President Donald Trump says, quote, after speaking with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico, I have agreed that Mexico will not be required to pay tariffs on anything that falls under the USMCA agreement. This agreement is until April 2nd. I did this as an accommodation and out of respect for President Sheinbaum. Our relationship has been a very good one, and we are working hard together on the border, both in terms of stopping illegal aliens from entering the U.S. and likewise stopping fentanyl. Thank you to President Sheinbaum for your hard work and cooperation, end quote.
Yes. So he's not a mean person. Please do not look at him from the outside actions that he has to take to save his people. The America has become almost exhausted in different aspects of their country. So he has to return stability and wellness to his citizens because that's what he vowed to do. So please, it's not only you in war that have problems with your country and Russia. President Trump, even in peace, also has a lot of problems to take care of because everybody looks up to America for help. For war settlement, for handling international crisis, and for peace. So please, you have to trust President Trump. Without America, your country will be gone. And do not rely on Europe's help either, because they also been at war not long ago, and now they also have to recover. And then they have so many millions of immigrants, legal and illegal, who came to their country and also eating up their wealth and their citizens' taxes and making their country also harder to get by. Now, you can see very well that when the war first began in your country, Europe just ignored you. You fought all alone. And I even had to come to my TV screen and explain it to them that Russia wanted to even invade whole of Europe. By the way, they maneuvered their strategy, the war strategy, in the beginning of the war. They took over, occupied many areas alongside the European border with Ukraine. What did they do that for, huh? NATO, you can't even trust them. NATO refused Ukraine, EU refused Ukraine, America crossed their arms in front of their chest, watching on. So Ukraine is left alone to fend for themselves or to die alone. Talking about good neighbors. Love thy neighbors and all that.
Yes.
They make an excuse saying that if they order no-fly zone, that means they could maybe trigger the nuclear war in Europe.
Yes.
But just maybe, because Russia will be also afraid of NATO and the world and many countries that have nuclear.
Right, that's true.
And even maybe more than Russia has.
Yes.
If all the countries put together.
Yes.
Because Russia is the one, and they have many nuclear in many other countries, including India, even.
Yes.
So first they refuse Ukraine because they say Russia will make an excuse to war with Ukraine, and Russia already did. And they still don't accept Ukraine, and now they make an excuse that it might trigger a nuclear war. So they refuse Ukraine again. Probably they wait until nuclear comes.
Yes.
And at that time, it might be too late to react.
Yes.
Maybe they'll be dead already. Because you can see Russia he does things using elements of surprise. Up to now, he didn't tell anybody that he's going to make war with Ukraine, even though he already built up an army force next to the border.
Yes.
And meanwhile, keep saying, no, we don't talk about that. Even he told his vice chief, no, we don't talk about conflict with Ukraine, something like that. And he didn't tell anyone else. He didn't tell his people even. Even the army did not know until maybe last minute. Help Ukraine to eliminate this war in any way you can. In the beginning, all the way up to deeper into the war, the Kremlin occupied all this border from Crimea because they took Crimea and they used that as a base, as a stepping stone, and went more deep into Ukraine's different regions along the border of Russia. And they want to stretch it all the way to Belarus and then past Belarus and then all the way to cover all the border with Europe. You can see that. I don't have to be a war strategist to see it. I saw it on the map. And you see the brave Ukrainian soldiers and people are already taking back more than half of what Russia has occupied. Well, we thank God for that. And we are in debt to them. Because if they take all the border all the way to Belarus and continue, then they will have bases everywhere around the European border. And they will attack any European country anytime, easily, if they have bases already. And are prepared and equipped everywhere they want. Just they would attack one country after another in Europe. Because they want to control all of Europe and the world as well. With the backing of their so-called allies. And you know what I mean now. And Europe is still sleeping. First, because they have such good, favorable supply of gas, cheap and all that, and all kinds of things for their household, or their development, for invention, all kinds of things. They also depend on each other.